Hey guys, Jared here from Mediaover, and today I'm doing kind of a new type of video. I don't expect to do this often, but I just want to give the internet my point of view when it comes to the Star Wars franchise. So let's just jump right into it. Growing up, I loved everything Star Wars, but then it was mostly the movies. I also loved the Clone Wars TV series. And I just love Lego Star Wars. Come on, especially the Lego Star Wars video games. I wanted to go more into the expanding universe, but I didn't know where to start. And of course, I started at the most obvious place for me. My mom had the Thrawn trilogy by Timothy Zahn. I did not get much more into the expanding universe till I reached high school. School has always been extremely difficult for me because I always feel like I'm working way harder than everybody else. The studying during lunch, then after school for hours, not much of a break, and also with the pressures of being bullied. And so I kind of followed the words of C.S. Lewis, and I made a treaty with reality. I mean, at the time, it was he followed mostly mythology. For me, it's Star Wars. I also read things like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and other classic stories. But I always did this in between reading books for school, like Lord of the Flies or Feed or something like that. Never really enjoyed those books, except for Sherlock Holmes. I actually like that one. But yeah, I just love the Star Wars comics, the novels, etc. And I read a lot of them when I was working as a lifeguard, when I was off stand. And what is called Legends now, almost everything then was canon. But everything was to a degree. There was retcons, rewrites, etc. And like everything had a tier, like everything for George Lucas is George Lucas's universe. It's his universe. He makes the decisions. Everything else is just expands off of his universe. And the fans were very acceptant of this, and the fans could debate with each other on these topics. They could come up with fan theories and stuff like that. And there wasn't really much attacking towards the fans if the fans didn't really like something, because there's one thing out of the whole galaxy. I mean, there's probably more Star Wars bad books than there are great ones. It's a sad fact of things. But each fan had their own headcanon, where the fans were able to take the parts that they liked of Star Wars, and they could exclude the things that they didn't like the Ewok movies or the Star Wars Holiday Special. This idea kind of gave the fans a little bit of control in the community. But all that changed when George Lucas sold the rights to Star Wars to Disney. And they put in place the Lucasfilm Story Group. And it's their job to keep track of every little detail of Star Wars to make sure it is possible for it to exist in one universe. And they've already failed. A few years in, they've already failed. And it's kind of the same point where Legends was at, without deliberate rewrites. Another reason I don't like the story group, it kind of took the part where the fans could debate to come up with a solution away from the fans, and now there's an official answer that you would get. So instead of talking to other people, you go to Pablo Hidalgo on Twitter, or Rebels Recon or something. You can find an answer out there, which I find that kind of a shame and takes away from the community. And now every Star Wars story is sorted into canon or legends. And the question is, what is canon? I see it pop up a lot in fandoms, but particularly in Star Wars. Churches use the term to describe stories on what stories to be true, and there are still debates with it. So it's debates among different churches, stuff like that. I don't want to describe if anyone's more true than the other, but that's where the term comes from. when you Google it, it says a general law or rule, etc. Just for an example. So it's like, okay, canon is law. But more closely what it pertains to this topic is, but what it, in fiction, canon is the material accepted as official part of the story. In the fictional universe of that story, it is often contrasted with or used as a basis for works of fan fiction. And legends is described as legend is a genre of folklore that consists of narrative featuring human actions perceived or believed both by teller and listeners to have taken place within human history. Narratives in this genre may demonstrate human values and possesses certain qualities that give the tale verisimilitude. Sorry, I suck at the English language, particularly after I learned German. But legends is like the story for us. It's like stories like the Iliad and the Odyssey. These stories, were I kind of actually can be compared to Star Wars, where they used to be true to those people, but not to us today. And like the Greeks saw the Iliad and the Odyssey as their history. I guess that's kind of the same way when it comes to Star Wars. It's actually a very fitting title to call it Legends. Anyway, a good video that talks about canon is NerdSunc's video on what is canon. Here, Scott and Ricky explore what makes something canon. Great video. Go check it out. I'll leave it in a link to it in the description down below. Hopefully I remember. But they use Doctor Who as an example. Personally, I find the word canon tossed around a lot more in Star Wars, particularly because I'm part of the Star Wars fandom a lot more. I don't know. Maybe they chose right with Doctor Who. But I kind of wish that they would have talked about headcanon a little bit more in that video. They talk about how the fans can actually play a role in a fandom. Basically, like Doctor Who, there's an example there. But we don't see that so much in Disney's canon anymore. They claim they're fans, but part of me doesn't believe them. Now the story of Star Wars, with my headcanon, it's considered... I take parts of both. Take all the good and leave out the bad. Just like we did back when it was just Legends. And I know it doesn't all fit together, but it fits together in my head, and I think that's important. I would end the video there, but I kind of want to explore more into my headcanon for my future videos. Yeah, so it would just be easier later on down the line if I just describe it a little bit more now, even though some people think I will probably have gone off the deep end at this point. Either way, it's been a year since I started writing my own Star Wars timeline of what I considered canon, and I'll put it. And I know all the pieces don't work together, and not everything works in my point of view of Star Wars. But since the word canon comes from churches, it got me thinking about the authors of Star Wars. But I'm not talking about Claudia Gray, James Luceno, or Timothy Zahn, which I love their books, by the way. But I was thinking about George Lucas's original script on who told the story of Star Wars. And this is actually part of Disney's canon too, but the Wills. I wrote a fan fiction about the Wills because, to be fair, the people at Lucasfilms are kind of the Wills in this respect. And now we have two different timelines to describe it. So let me just toss a third one in there, and I'll put the link down below. But I describe in my fan fiction kind of a war amongst the Wills on what the definitive story of Star Wars is. Everybody can agree on the original 6 movies in the Wills. And, yeah, so... except I have one who represents me, who takes the story, everybody else's stories of Star Wars, and combines them together into one narrative on what he thinks to be true. This character also leaves notes because there's some different viewpoints of the Force in amongst all those books, and I only like some of them. So, this once again, this is my headcanon, and you'll have your own. So let me know what your headcanon is down in the description below. Let everybody believe what they want to, or not really believe, but want to consider canon to them. So be nice in the description. So remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you guys enjoy my video. And I'll see you all later. Bye.